Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body, holistic life approach.
Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, and today's healthy tip is talking about overeating and how do you avoid it. What is tips in that, and what exactly is overeating? There is seriousness when those that overeat. It can cause increase in heart and lung conditions, increase obesity, and many studies have shown increase in diabetes, obesity, and overall health issues. Almost about 40% of the population increased in obesity by just overeating. Now, how do we avoid this or get yourself into the right mindset? So as someone that says, to have a mindful way each and every day, one thing that I do is I talk a lot about our overall habits, and mindful eating is part of the equation because food is medicine, and what you put into your body is a direct reflection on how you feel and what your life may be, because your cells are talking to each other and they're interconnected, and the energy within kind of disseminates without. So let's go by the first tip. Let's talk about limiting distractions. Now, how do you limit distractions? That means you don't watch TV, have the phone, maybe light background music. When you have time to eat, you're eating. So it's kind of doing like one thing at a time. I know that is not always the case every single day, but I would recommend majority of your meals, especially dinner or the biggest meal, to limit your distractions. There's been many of studies that have shown when you limit your distractions, you eat less. When you don't limit your distractions, you're mindless eating and very mindful of the foods, meaning you're eating so much until you're full instead of intuitively feeling if you're full. There's a complete difference. Your hunger gets even more. And then sometimes you even find yourself craving those carbs and those sugars, which then will in turn actually make you eat more. The second part of the equation is how do you eat slowly? I talk about this a few times about if you're going to eat extra slow, or the proper way of digestion is from the mouth all the way down to the anus, right? All the way down to our GI tract. The proper way of eating really is to have about 30 bites per meal, per food. That is quite difficult for the average person, but if you actually did that, you would actually eat less food in turn, and your portions would be smaller because you would notice your body is triggered to eat less. And substantially, your mind and the hormones and the hunger hormones and your satiety, as they call it, is satisfied to eat, and hunger, and if you're not, will feel full. So can you imagine doing about 30 bites, 20 to 30 bites per something? I don't always do it. I'm not perfect either, but when you do and you are more in tune with that, you'd be surprised how much fuller and aware you are of your eating habits. The third big one, as I tell people, is try to think about your portion size. What are you putting in the body? How much are you doing? And then are you in this good caloric dense foods, like nice, good quality whole foods, veggies, fruits? Or are we just thinking of the processed cookies, cakes, breads because they're easier, or a fast food option because it's easier? Think in a way prepping for a week and portion out your meals so that you might have a better option. I always say smaller plates when eating. I always go for the lunch plates. Half of my plate should have more of a veggie option and fruit, and the other part more on the protein. And I would avoid, when you do bulk orders, and if they may be more affordable, try to still portion out your meals and portion out your food. So say if you got a bulk order of some carb loaded thing, try to portion them out into bags so that you have them serving size ready instead of just sitting down to have a whole bag of popcorn, a whole bag of chips. Try to have individual smaller plates, smaller bowls, things of that nature. Avoiding those temptations, those sugary foods, sugary drinks, really thinking about the importance of hydration and water and how that is an integral part in your overeating and mindful eating. Now, how do you avoid those temptations when you want to overeat? Sometimes you may have to literally remove it from your pantry and in your life. That doesn't mean you completely get rid of it. It just means you have to just kind of see if there's triggers or things that may spark up stressful or emotional eating. So I'd say for myself, ice cream is one, so I don't usually have that available. I have to go and walk someplace to go get it, or I take a little bit, or I do a portion size. So it's one portion sized pop or something that might be like 50 calories is all I can have for that treat. Another way I say is when you're going to eat or have some salads, I say have the dressings and things on the side. That's always a benefit for you. Consider high caloric quality foods and avoid the processed options. Again, when you have these moments of not wanting to be mindful and you get bored, if you can keep your hands busy or drinking water or crocheting or reading a book or listening to music, you'll find yourself less going to foods or during a boredom. Majority of the time when you're overeating, it's either boredom, it's because you are thirsty, or because you are tired. Really think and be in tune within your body to see where you're at and what is going on. My next tip is, how do I fill my day with more fibrous foods? So when you have more of a fibrous kind of meals, in addition to protein, your body feels a little bit more full. So things that are more fibrous are the veggies, the whole foods, little nuts, oats, whole grains, whole fruits. I'm a big berry fan, and oranges and things of that nature. Things that will make you satisfied but still gives you that full feeling. In addition to that, of course, pairing your meals with quality protein. Quality proteins can include yogurts, could be nuts, could be non-dairy milks even, beans, peas, whole grains, fish, poultry, lean meats. And if needed, you can do protein powders as an option in the morning or in the evening if you're going to be working out, or my favorites are egg whites, so I always do those as an option. And my next tip would then be keeping positive, trying to be kind to yourself, because those mindful tips and those mindful ways each and every day is you gotta reset and be okay with where you're at today, tomorrow, and the next day. And just because one moment you may have overeaten some food, the next meal does not mean that your whole day is ruined. Understand that sometimes the stress levels come up. Okay, let's reset and kind of get yourself back into the game. You got this. Another option I say is always try to bring a healthy option to parties and holiday things, to things that you're going to, veggies or a dish. Pair water with an alcohol beverage or between meals so that you're more full. Maybe even have an apple before you go out or before you're going to have these bigger gatherings or such. And the last one, if that's available to you, is you would actually want to brush your teeth. because brushing your teeth will help kind of get rid of that excess food on your mouth, and you're less willing to eat as much when you brush your teeth. You're like, oh, I just brushed my teeth. And then my number one tip out of all of this, you're going to be mindful about your eating. You're going to limit your overall alcohol. You're going to take the time to, really be in tune with your body. But it would be to try to see if you can reduce and transform your stress, because as I had said to you before, overeating really has a boredom component, a hunger component, a tired component, or the ghrelin hormone, where it makes you think that you're hungry and you're not. And the stress from the cortisol levels and from other stress things, when you manage some of that, stress is a normal response, good and bad. It's just a matter of how do we transform it so that it does not take over our life. Things that I always recommend: mindful breathing. Try to see if you can have some sort of exercise regimen for you. I love yoga and meditation. I have some breathing and relaxation techniques on my YouTube and on the podcast. And then just taking moments to just focus in and be kind to yourself. Really give yourself moments to realize it's okay. I'm all right. I hope some of these helped, and that you can find a little bit of mindful way each and every day. And this overeating tips have helped. And you have a great day. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative Show with Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not to substitute for professional medical advice, diagnose, or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest or more information? Email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.